welcome to the Thursday, November 19th special council meeting. This is going to be a quick one in regards to the Personnel Committee. Just a couple comments on the Personnel Committee. I think, and Eric, you correct me, but I believe it was formed, the fourth person on the Personnel Committee was to fill the spot from the phone company, represent the phone company employees. Pardon?
The general manager of the phone company.
Yeah, he was the fourth person. So after that, things just carried on and you filled that position. So after we left the last meeting, I did a little follow-up. I called Park Rapids, Walker, Nisswa, Pillager, and Crosby. Regional kind of comparable cities that I thought, and I asked them what the makeup of their personnel committees were. 4 of them were the administrator, mayor, and council, and Pillager was the only one who just had council, mayor, and council because they do not have an administrator. So it seems to me that it is usually a 3-party personnel committee. So again, I just want to entertain a motion to change the ordinance, to change the Cross Lake Personnel Committee to the administrator, the mayor, and 1 council person.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is this going to be better than what we have today? And why do you think this is a better change?
Well,
I guess the question is, why do you want to make this motion?
it just seems to me that that's what personnel committees are composed of, is 3 people. It's an odd number for one. Not that, they make a decision, it's just a recommendation.
There have been split situations where there's hasn't.
Oh, you mean with our 4-person personnel committee? Yeah, so that, and it's just other people, it's a 3-party, person deal. It just seems to me the reason we had it before was the phone company was removed from this building. It was kind of a separate entity owned by the city, and they wanted representation for the phone company, and that's, I believe, why they had 4 people on it. And even at that point, I don't know why it wasn't 5, just to make it odd, but.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think also there's a second part to this. The part of it is odd number, you get agreement, but when you have council and city administrator doing the negotiations, especially with unions, you have separated out any possible conflict that there could be. Because part of the issue should also then be a policy change in Cross Lake that includes that the city administrator's salary increase comes directly from city council. The 5 city council members sit down and they discuss the administrator separately, so that when you're doing the negotiations, that position is not included in any of the negotiation parts of it. And I think that's also an issue. And I think the 3 members makes it cleaner, because the majority, and Dave, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, Shrub, if that the union, or the city attorney from the
labor attorney?
Does the majority of the negotiations. Am I not correct?
There's a lot of discussion with the council members that are there, and the city administrator.
And
They are the ones that do the talking.
but the 3 and the city's attorney are the ones that actually do the negotiating.
That's correct.
Okay.
But then they do come back to the
Yeah, and the attorney functions on behalf of the city and is not a voting member of that committee.
That's correct.
Okay. And I think 3 people it makes it a little cleaner and a little easier to work with.
So for me to answer your question, Mr. Schrupp, as best I can, it just seems to me that this is the way it should be. And it seems to me that's the way most cities have it.
Well, I looked online, and there was a town in southern Minnesota where I think there was like 9 of them. Almost had the entire council. I don't remember what it was.
Oh my.
I should have called Teapot, I didn't even think of that.
Let me just ask this. So then all of these meetings that the personnel committee has, that will allow attendance by, like myself, if I want to sit in to listen?
I think they're open meetings, aren't they?
They're public meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're public meetings.
So you, unless it was posted, you probably couldn't contribute to it, but you certainly could be there.
I'm just thinking, my thought is that you get more input if you had another member that's in the staff there. Because that was always helpful when I was there with Brad, you know, we'd get input from Mike, from Eric, and before that it was John Hinkie. So you'd hear information to help you make a decision on what you're doing. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe we should just make the city council the personnel committee.
You do that?
And just have a posted, open meeting. Yeah, I think the personnel committee in my world is just a smaller group that gets together to talk about some issues that it's not hiding from anybody, but if it's not a big deal, it doesn't draw a lot of people.
Can I?
Sure.
Just a couple different things that come to my mind when I think about the Personnel Committee, having been on it for 3 years and enjoying it, by the way. I mean, I don't want off it by any means. All I've said is that I've been on the committee for 3 years. And TJ, John, Chip, Ted, Shar, Jane, Eric Swanson, any one of those can be on it also. One of the things that I have an issue with is as a department head, if I come to the personnel committee or TJ or John or whomever, and we have a request to, or a proposal for a new employee, a different employee, a promotion, whatever it might be, Mayor, you are on the committee. You appoint somebody, in this case, you looking at Marcia for next year. Why should 2 council members make the decision for the full council on whether or not something goes forward? Now, when you take out the department head, you're taking out expertise in the city. In my case, 24 years. In Eric Swanson's case, 23. Ted's 21 or 22. You're taking out that expertise in making the decision. Secondly, by ordinance, the personnel committee is the one or the body that interviews potential new council members. Now, it might not be a conflict of interest. If Brad was here, he might be able to tell us. But in this case, you two make the decision on who goes forward for the next council seat, making it a majority.
By a recommendation.
Making a recommendation, yeah. But, at the same point in time, how is that not seen as political? So, keeping 4 members, the makeup of the committee right now, you're using the expertise of 2 city employees, the department head and the city administrator, and 2 council members, and yeah, you know what? There might be a 2-2. Then it comes to the body of the council. And it should. I mean, 2 council members should not make decisions for the city, for the council, on policy, correct?
Well, they're not making a decision, first of all, they're making a
Well,
recommendation.
But if the recommendation doesn't go to the council, they're making a decision.
So I understand, what recommendation would not go to council? That's what
Employees.
Huh?
What if, in TJ's case, we just looked at employees, hourly wages, that type of thing that was recommended to the council. Now, if it was a 3-person committee and it ended up being a 2-to-1 vote against what he was recommending, it's dead. Unless he somehow, some way, tries to finagle it into this body and for a discussion.
Did that go to personnel? You just
It
came
doesn't
directly
matter.
to
I'm saying the
city
what ifs.
council?
Yes, it did.
It went to the personnel?
Yes, it did. And we approved it.
I guess, I don't know why it would die. Yeah, because the two council people, or whoever the two are here, don't make the decision.
They do at the personnel committee level on whether or not to recommend it to the council body.
Okay, well, I don't know, but it's, maybe I should have contacted 10 other cities to find out how
And-
they do it, but it seems to be
Mayor,
what they
when
have.
have you ever been one to say, oh, everyone else is doing it, we should do it too?
Well,
Well, I think we're going with common practices. It would be two councilmen and the city administrator. And I guess if there's a problem with that, that you don't want two councilmen, I guess that's not your choice, but
No,
it's
it's
the
not my
council's.
choice.
Maybe we should just make the personnel committee the city council and have everybody in on every decision and the interviews made with the city council.
Mr. Mayor, is there any interest in, I mean, we seem to be hung up on 3 versus 4 members, and aside from any control or political issues, is there any interest in increasing it to 5? And then you can debate who that 5th person would be.
So that would be another employee. You want three employees and 2 councilmen, otherwise it's a special meeting.
I didn't say that. I said you could
Oh, I'm
debate
just
who that
saying.
5th member would be. Because they're both advisory in nature.
Yeah,
right, but it's the personnel committee, and it seems to be leaning towards being mostly made up of the personnel, and that strikes me as a little odd.
I don't think I'd vote on something that would pertain to police department. As far as I know, the personnel committee has never been the negotiator.
No.
So when Chief Hartman was on
No,
the personnel committee, he was not part of the negotiations for the union. Nor was any other than the city administrator for any negotiations. As a matter of fact, it was the city administrator, Brad, and Dave the last time we had negotiations. Correct?
yep,
Yep.
yeah, both times.
No department head was on that committee for negotiations.
With the unions, yeah. Okay, I don't,
And we've never made a recommendation from the personnel committee what non-union department head wages should be,
Yeah.
ever.
You know, to what Marcia, it would make more sense. Again, I'm worried about educating myself or whoever's on that committee with what's going on with our employees. What do they think? What are they seeing? It would, go up, add one more person to it. That would make more sense, because we don't, like I said the last Thursday, we don't work here all day long. We don't know what's going on. But believe me, when it comes to negotiations and things like this, all the city employees are watching and listening, and they're wondering what is going on. They get very nervous when you start touching with stuff like this. That's what happens. That's what happens, so. That's my 2 cents worth.
it's just the way it's been since the phone company was here. I don't know, the phone company's been here forever. That was the reason for it. It was a separate department, that's why it was
Right.
here.
Right, and
So I don't-
it'd be no different than, the phone company was like another department. You had that administrator and this administrator talking to 2 council guys. Now you could say it's 2 council guys, that administrator, and this department head, I don't know what his name was, but they're representing an entity that's in the city, so, I don't know.
Yeah, and if you're going to compare it to the former phone company, that was a whole different arrangement that the city had. I mean, it was a totally different entity. It was run different. It was run like a business, or tried to. And they kind of did their own thing. They had their own union, and we handled it as such. But because the city owned them, it was felt that they needed to be part of that discussion, and it was very valuable. Because I remember being in those meetings with them, and they would say, well, did you know your employee X in the union thinks this? And that's the first we'd ever heard of it. So there was there was value in having that information because it helped you understand the terms and conditions you were negotiating at that time. And my role in the whole process was to say, look, here's what the 5 issues are, or 10 issues, or whatever they were. Here's the union's concern, which is different than the city's concern. You know, let's figure out what's important here and come to an agreement. I mean, that's how negotiations work. You don't get everything you want, and you don't give away everything you want either. It's an arm's length transaction. So I mean, I think, you know, you can point to any organization you want and say their personnel committee is X, or it's this many people or that many people. And I mean, I could probably call 15 different cities right now and get 15 different answers. I could do the same with the county. You could go to, I know Brainerd has several personnel committees, Baxter has a different one. I know from the county, they use the entire board, plus the administrator, plus the HR department, plus the union steward from each union. So the point is they're all different. It doesn't make one right or wrong over the other. What you're really trying to do is get good information from the sources so you can make an informed decision and not appear to be biased or political to the public. So if you're going to change it, my recommendation to go from 4 to 3 would be less desirable than going from 4 to 5. Because then you got an odd number and you've got really what you want.
Well, and maybe that's okay. I just wish it wasn't another, I'm just trying to think of an objective person that would be, the city attorney can't be on the personnel committee. Would that be a biased opinion?
No, he's for legal advice.
He's our legal advisor.
Not for that kind of a,
He doesn't, our city attorney doesn't handle personnel issues. We have a separate qualified attorney for personnel.
Who's that?
Jessica Durbin.
we see her every 2 years, whatever it is. I mean, that's,
Well, that's about how often the personnel committee meets too. It's a few times a year. Right? I mean,
We meet as often as need be.
right, but I mean, it's not too often.
Perception is a big thing when you're doing things in the public. It's really up to you what you guys want to do.
Yeah, well, you know, change is always hard, and that's where probably a lot of this resistance is from. It seems like if the phone company wasn't a separate deal, our personnel committee probably would consist of the administrator, the mayor, and a council person. I mean, I would guess that that's what it was. The reason it bumped to 4 was because of the removed phone company. And part of my motivation is, I just don't know that it's right, and that's why I brought it up. And I'm not afraid to try to change something if I see it, you know. I mean, so that's my motivation. And, you know, there's always a resistance to any change, I get that.
But if you don't know what's right, then why you're willing to just change just even though you don't know it's
Well,
right?
I'm kind of wishing I would have called 5 more cities around here to see what theirs is, because most of them seem to go with 3. The only one that only had 2 was Pillager, and they don't have an administrator.
I don't know, I just, my personal opinion is that it works fine, just because the number isn't a 4 or a 2 or a 5 isn't a reason to change it. And of all of the things that are on our plates now, I don't think that this is making the top 5. This is something that works, it has been working in the times that I was on it. It's not a high priority, so I just don't quite understand why it all of a sudden is. But do what you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, John, you got any opinion on it?
I'd vote to leave it like it is.
Okay. Aaron, you got anything else to say on it?
I think for right now, it would be best to leave it where it is, Dave.
Okay, Marcia?
I think if if we change anything, we should just make the personnel committee the city council, because it sounds like if you go to 5, you're gonna have 3 councilmen on there versus, I can't believe it'd be 3 employees and 2 councilmen. And I guess, and if council wants to come in and listen in so that they know what's going on, then what's the point? Then you might as well just have the city council as the personnel committee. Because you're gonna, if you do increase it to 5 and have 3 councilmen on there, you have to call a special meeting every time you do a personnel.
And we'd have to do
Committee.
that for the council. to be on
Exactly,
it,
so
too.
you might as well have the whole council on there.
Okay, well, let me amend my motion, because that one's gonna die, and say, let's change it to have the, so would it be the administrator, a department head, and the city council will make up
No,
of
it'd be
that?
just the city council.
Oh, just the city council, so there'd be no department heads.
Well, you'd want to have your administrator who's managing all of the people.
You need input on the person.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
that's
asking
really
the question.
important.
Is that what it would be, is the administrator in the council, or?
You'd want to have at least the administrator on there,
Yes.
or a non-union staff person, then you'd
And
be
it's an
7.
open meeting, so it doesn't matter, anybody can
Yeah.
come.
Does that make sense, Mike? I don't know, let me ask a different question to like Eric. How would the employees view having the entire city council and Mike being the personnel committee? Is that better than just having what we have now?
It wouldn't be bad. One of my initial thoughts are that personnel committee is one that interviews new employees, or potential new employees, not the finalists, but new employees. And at that point in time, you have got an open meeting with, and the
Right.
candidates all being public. Typically, the candidates are not public until they are finalists. So I do see an issue in that, and you might have to, as you go along, in particular with department heads and city administrator, want to take a look at changing the makeup of how you go through the interview process on that. Because you are going to have some issues and data privacy stuff that comes up at a council meeting, because that's exactly what it will be. Personnel committee meeting will be a council. I just say leave it the way it is.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, for now, leave it like it is, but can we ask Jessica Durbin to give us input
Sure, we can do that.
and then come back and,
You have Jessica for what?
Jessica is our labor
Yeah.
attorney, and Brad does everything else. So she's the one that sits in on negotiations. If there's a personnel, an individual personnel issue, Mike and staff work with her, and she provides recommendations on the proper way of dealing with it and that kind of stuff. So, and I'm sure, given her area of work, that she's talking to other cities that, what does she see? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks,
And I would guess that she could also advise on the interview process that Eric just discussed as well.
Right.
So I think that might be a wise thing to go,
Yeah.
wise direction to
So
go.
in other words, just let it,
No, no, you
let it
just-
die.
No, let's just
No,
go ahead,
we table it.
let's get input from,
And
You table it, you get input from her, and then it comes back, well, hopefully, to the December meeting.
if she can, I don't know, if she can get December then.
Well, for input. I'm
Yeah,
saying.
oh, yeah, yeah,
I'm saying
yep.
input. And then she could Zoom in as well if she's calling in. Does that make some sense? And then you're getting around you're getting a legal opinion involved into it too, instead of our personal.
I don't think the whole council should be in, just because of the open meeting.
And she may say that, that's a question.
But to put 3 is basically the same thing.
Well, you can't, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you're doing that, you're saying there would be an additional personnel person on it.
Okay, Mike, will you talk to her? I'm gonna look in, I'm gonna follow up with some other cities around locally and see what they do. Change is difficult, and that's where you guys, there's nothing on the personnel agenda at all. There's nothing, you know, change is hard and maybe threatening. It shouldn't be threatening, but to me, it's just a small group that talk about things. But that's not what it is.
Well, it's kind of good if you don't have to meet all the time about personnel issues. That's a good thing, so,
Yeah, and you don't, it's.
right. So that's
Just when
kudos.
we were in the last thing, Eric made the comment, I was appointed to this thing, I don't know, 3 years ago or 6 years ago, and I don't know why I'm still on here, and that's what kind of got me thinking, well, why?
Yeah.
First of all, it's personnel, and it's made up of personnel, and why is he on here, you know, maybe, so I looked into it a little bit, and that, I mean, it's no deeper than that,
Yep.
other than just an organizational thing, so.
So you're going to find out so we can,
Yeah, I'll check with her. Her response time has been a little slow right now. I know she's doing a lot of negotiations, and our current situation for everybody kind of slows that process down, so I'll reach out to her.
When does that process start again?
Well, she's,
Roughly, I mean, the
A year from now?
negotiations.
well, we'll be looking at it. We'll get a notice of intent to negotiate from each union, and that really starts the process. Then we respond to that. Then we set up a meeting, and we decide what terms and conditions we'd like changed or carried forward. And we have an initial meeting between the attorneys. And then we get a little closer and go back and forth with that. And
But approximately time frame, July,
it could be July, or it could be next January. It's really up to the
when
union.
they decide to?
Yep.
Okay, got it. So it's not something that has to be resolved today?
No.
no.
Okay.
Okay, so let's close that meeting, huh? And we'll open up the budget workshop.